Lee Company. Are any of you familiar with Lee Company? Cool. So what do you guys know about Lee Company?
I drive all the time and see it passing by.
You see the trucks?
Yeah.
Nice.
Is it air conditioning?
Yeah.
Part of it, yeah.
Air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, home improvements. It's a very complex business in a way, because we serve 3 different segments. We serve residential, which is what most people know about. We also serve facilities, commercial buildings. So we do the same thing for, I mean, you can think of the Bridgestone Arena, they're our customer, all the way to like, many of you guys know Lucas in Murfreesboro, pizza place. Oh, well, if you don't know it, you have to know it, because it's amazing. My favorite pizza in Murfreesboro. They're our customer too. So it's like a huge range of facilities that we service. And then we do mechanical construction. So when you think of a building, you can think of like the heart and the lungs of a building are the electrical, the plumbing, and the air conditioning systems. We have engineers that design those systems. We have a fabrication shop where their designs are built. And then we have crews that install them for new buildings. So you guys have seen 505 in Nashville, for example. That's one, that has been a record-breaking project for us. It's the tallest,
That's the tallest building downtown, for those y'all don't know. Because we know 505, a lot of people don't know
right.
505.
So it you know, it's a complex business. I come from knowing what AC means. I didn't know what HV stood for, because I never needed heating in my life. So, you know, I'm working for a company that I didn't really understand the core product. But as a marketer, you know, we have tools. There are things that are foundational. Doesn't matter the business that we're serving. And so that's the story that I'm going to tell you. It's kind of how I started working at Lee Company, not really understanding, to the point where we are today. We're now 5 years into my career with them, have a team of 3 people in-house with me, and we have a team of about 12 partners that help us do what we do. So I'm going to start by showing you one of our recent TV ads.
Yeah.
It's just hard to see.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
This is super cool.
Do you guys hear?
What do you want to build? An arena. We maintain them. Mechanical systems. We design them. A hospital. A university. A stadium. We bring them all to life. We handle the systems that make buildings run. Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. When it comes to buildings, we're the experts. No question about it. When it comes to you and your career, your life, you're the expert. And that brings us to a very important question. What do you want to build? A family. We provide for them. A career. We build them every day. With mentoring, training, the latest technology, with a chance to give back and a chance to grow. When you're ready, we're here. Lee Company.
So, oh no.
Tim, they'll show me.
Oh, I think it's
Escape. Hit escape button.
It's not there.
Oh.
Anyway, you know, as I was preparing to come here today, I started thinking about my time as a junior and as a senior in college, and I never dreamt at that time that I would be directing a project like this. that I'd had the opportunity to work with producers that have done work for Toyota or Nissan, that have done national campaigns for big brands, right? Never thought that I'd be working with amazing copywriters or designers. I think my dream was very laser focused. My dream was to work for Coca-Cola and write jingles. And, you know, you're in college, I think a lot of us kind of aim for those big brands that seem sexy. But we have to keep in mind and recognize that the economy is made up of a bunch of mid-sized and small businesses that make things happen. And I am glad that I was open to other opportunities, because otherwise, I don't know that I'd be doing work of this caliber. We have a 30-second version of this ad that ran in the Super Bowl this year. And that was super exciting for me. As a marketer, as an advertiser, the Super Bowl is, well, the Super Bowl, right? It's a pretty exciting deal. Something that a lot of people don't understand is that when you're talking about the Super Bowl, you see the national ads and you know they're paying like, you know, $5 million for a 30-second ad, and the millions that it costs to produce them is like crazy, right? But then there are also statewide ads and there are regional ads. Our ad was regional. It was a Super Bowl anyway, so I'm not letting anyone take that away from our team. But my family's in Miami, and the day of the Super Bowl, my mom calls and she's like, "How come I don't see your ad?" I was like, "Mom, I'll send you a link." You know, she thought that we were at the national level. But again, I'm just really happy that I have been able to stay open-minded to opportunities. This is just an example of the work that our team does. We advertise in magazines, we do direct mail, we do email marketing, social, big sponsorships. We're sponsors for the Preds. We do a lot of charitable work. Pretty much like anything you can think of, we do it. And that wasn't exactly my dream when I was where you are today. So I guess I'm inviting you guys, if you have a dream that's like super focused, like be true to your dream, but just be very open to the opportunities, because I think the road to success or the road to career growth is no longer linear, right? It takes turns and twists, and you just kind of have to be wise to choose so that you may land in the right spot for you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened when I joined the company. Let's see. That December, remember how I told you people told me winters here were super mild? That was a record-breaking year. You guys might remember the polar vortex. That was that year. And so I was freaking out because I had to drive in snow. I didn't know what 30 degrees weather was like. I didn't know what 2-degree weather was like. I mean, I'm a Floridian. I was dying. I had made the worst choice of my life, going to a place where there was freaking snow. It was very intense. And then I learned that there are things that happen to plumbing systems when the weather gets that low. You guys might know more than I do. But, you know, pipes freeze, right? And so that creates a series of issues for homes. And I saw an opportunity to communicate with our customers. We had an email list that hadn't been used for years. So I got ready this like really cool email campaign with like an offer. It checked all the boxes from a marketing perspective. By the time I sent the campaign out, it was 42 to 45 degrees. It still felt pretty cold to me, so I thought it was timely. I didn't know that freezing point is like 32 and below, so it's 32. So I sent out this email about frozen pipes, and somebody went on Facebook and said, haha, you can always count on marketing for timely communication. So that stung a little bit, and I was like, well, whatever, at least they're engaging with our social channels. There's the silver lining. What was awesome was that the polar vortex like turned around and came back like the following week, and I was like, Mother Nature redeemed me. So the offer was, you know, the email still generated some opportunities, and then we got an email response. And we can talk about the technicalities of this. You know, you get a lot of emails, and it says do not respond. I don't believe in that, because if you're communicating with people, you should give them an opportunity to speak back to you. So we have our email set up so that customers can respond directly to what they received. Somebody responded and said, you should fire your marketing person. And it just completely, it knocked me cold, because I didn't know what I had done wrong. So I went into the office of the VP of Home Services, and I was like, this is not bad, you don't have to take action, but a customer is saying you should fire me. And he was like, why? I said, I don't know. I really don't understand. And so, at that point, I had read all the research that the previous agencies had left behind, which was focused on demographics, right? They were talking about people as like lumps of people, so you're good with people, 35 to 60, homeowners, so I thought I understood. But it turned out that I was missing a huge piece. Lee Company is a culture-driven company. Lee Company has been in this community for 75 years. It's family-owned. People are used to a certain level of service from the company, and they're used to transparency. Even though I did everything by the book, all the fine print had, like the conditions in terms of the offer. Our customers are used to being communicated straight up, not in the fine print. And so this customer thought that I was being deceitful. That to me was like a good checkpoint. I realized that I was trying to promote a brand that I didn't fully understand. And so that set me on a journey to understand the brand, but not the brand as agencies study brands, right? Because people tell us the interest of our audience and their ages and their household income and the square footage of their home. But people are people, right? There are things that make us tick. There are ways in which we connect with each other. So this is what I needed to understand. Now, I wanted to understand the company from within. So I started going to meetings that have nothing to do with marketing. Started showing up to operational meetings. These guys talk for hours about coils and HVAC units and about refrigerant and pipes and ductwork, things that I never thought I would want to learn about because they're not sexy. But I started understanding not only the business, but I started understanding the language that our people use. I started understanding the challenges that they face when they're servicing customers. It was very eye-opening. Not only that, I didn't realize at the time that I was teaching them about marketing. Not all companies that you guys will work for are marketing minded, right? I mean, this is an operations company. We're focused on the bottom line. We're focused on cost of sales and blah, blah, blah. Marketing was a necessary evil, really, kind of like just to get a check mark. When I joined Lee Company, and sadly, this is true for a lot of companies, marketing was what I call the glorified admin. So our job was to protect the logo. And if you guys have read, or there are a lot of jokes about that's the job of marketing, to protect the logo and make sure that people are using the right font, and to put on pretty events and throw parties. And that's not the role of marketing at all. The role of marketing, as you guys may know, has evolved and changed a lot over the last, 10, 15 years. We've gone from traditional marketing that can't be measured but makes people feel good to like hyper trackable, we can drive business marketing, right? And I wanted to get the company to see that. I didn't want to be an admin. I wanted to be a strategic partner that was sitting at the table with the grown-ups in a way. And so I think that sitting in those meetings and explaining to them how I could help them with their operational challenges, or how I could help them with customer service while I was learning about their business was awesome. I started walking around. Bree, part of my team, knows like this is my mantra. We do marketing by walking around. We have to be seen in other places. We go and say hi to accounting, procurement, construction. Like anyone who's got ears is going to hear from us, and we're there to listen to them. a couple of cool things started happening. I mentioned early on that we serve 3 different businesses, right? So in this walking around, I started understanding the 3 businesses and how they come together. Even though they're distinct, they all work under the same company, so there had to be something that was common for all of them, right? Beyond the logo. And what is common for all 3 businesses is that we all are operating under the same mission, under the same vision, and under the same values. Understanding that was really helpful, because really, how can you protect a brand if you don't understand it, right? How can you protect what you don't understand? So, what we started doing, and that's what opened up the opportunity for us to have an internal communications person, was that we started sharing stories, right? We all love stories. Like, I love hearing stories of when I was a kid. I wasn't an angel by any means, so stories about my childhood are fun. We love stories about our heroes. That's why social media is so important, right? Because we love stories. And so what I started doing was that if I was in a home services meeting, I would say, hey guys, you have no idea what's going on in construction. And I would share that story with them, and then go to facilities and, hey guys, home services is doing this really, really cool thing. And we started creating this culture of story sharing. Our company has operations in multiple states. We have offices in Middle Tennessee, in Bowling Green, in Alabama. We have remote sites in West Memphis, and I mean, we're all over. How do you keep people connected? How do you keep people operating under the same vision and mission when we don't see each other every day, right? And that's by sharing stories, by reinforcing the culture, by reinforcing the values that make us who we are. So that's why we have Pri with us now, because that's what she focuses on. Speaking of brands, there's something really important in all this process. You know, all of this stuff is about layers. Like, none of this happens in isolation. At the same time that I was trying to understand the brand, I was branding the marketing team, and I was branding myself. And you guys need to do the same for yourselves. I like to think of brands as people. So like, if you were gonna talk about a brand, think of that brand as a person, right? So we can say that Apple is edgy, and you know, there are some more serious brands. I started branding myself as a resourceful expert who delivers excellent work. And that's aligned with how our team is known at Lee Company, which is aligned with how Lee Company is known in the industry. I told you I was going to tell you how I got to Lee Company. So in 2013, I took a class at Vanderbilt, like a 3-day marketing course that my employer was paying for. At the time it was Ryder. And during those 3 days, I participated a lot, had a lot of opinions. People who know me know that I have a lot of opinions. And the third day, we had like an assignment. Everybody had to present their brand. So there were other companies in the room, and they all talked about their brand and how they wanted to be seen. I decided to present myself as the brand. And so this is my personal brand. I'm a humble genius who knows when to lead and when to follow. And so I explained that at the time I was a junior member of a marketing team, and that my dream was to be a contributor and a driver for a company that would give me the opportunity to show what I could do. Unbeknownst to me, there were 2 executives in that room that had been watching me the whole 3 days. And at the end of that class, on the 3rd day, they asked me if I wanted to go grab pizza. I was like, sure. I mean, why not? So we went across the street to Mellow Mushroom, ate pizza. They asked me questions, and clearly I think my passion for marketing came through. There were a couple follow-up conversations, and then they asked me if I would want to come work for Lee Company. The job didn't exist. They created the job for me. And that, I think, to me, I realized how important it was that I was prepared to seize an opportunity by understanding myself as a brand. You guys never know where an opportunity might come from, so I would challenge you to be ready to take that opportunity. I tell my team all the time, the way you speak about yourself matters, the way you speak about your work matters, the way you speak about your passion matters, because you never ever know who's listening. Do any of you have given any thought to your personal brands? You have? Awesome. Would you mind sharing?
As far as personal brand, I work for one company. It's actually my dad's granite business. But as a person and how I view myself and how I want others to view me, I'm professional, I'm reliable, and when it comes to making sure that there's a problem and a solution that needs to be, I guess, delivered, I try to come up with multiple alternatives and find a solution for it and work to customize to see what's best. But really, if I had to say anything about my personal brand, it's reliable and able to get the job done.
Awesome, awesome. So that's something that I really encourage you guys to give thought to. So it's something that, I mean, Bree can attest to. It's something that I challenge the team to do all the time, and is to think through how they speak about themselves and about the work they do. Because the right person at the right time might be listening, and the right door might open up for you just because you were ready. There's something else that we're doing at the company. You know, at the end of the day, we have more than 1,200 employees, and there's only 4 of us in the marketing team in-house, right? So how do you keep the excitement and the momentum going, and how do you keep people telling stories? We can't do it alone. So we've created a brand ambassador team. So these are the extensions of our passion into the organization. They are located throughout different teams and different locations. And so we share information with them. They share information back. So now we're not working alone. We're leading a team of people that are helping us further the mission and the vision of the company. I think that this is the biggest compliment that I've received in my career came from our CEO. A year ago, we were presenting to him a magazine that we had produced for the company, and he read through it and he said, you know what? Everything that's here, I would have written myself. You guys get it. And that was huge, because marketing finds itself at odds a lot of times in companies, because you know we push, right? We're edgy. We're supposed to be the people that dress cool and have cool ideas and blah blah blah. And that is true. That is true. But sometimes in that effort we deviate too much, right? And so we get married to creative ideas and forget the purpose for which we're in the organization. So the way I look at our team is we're agents of change that get to drive the vision and the mission of the organization forward. We're not there to redefine it. We're not there to change it. That's the core of the business. And so to how our CEO recognized that we can help them, but we're not pushing outside the core of who we are, was a pretty cool compliment. We talked about thinking of our brand as a person, and the more clear that picture becomes to you, the more clear that picture becomes for the people around you. This is important, understanding yourself and understanding your brand, because as a marketer, you're not speaking for yourself, you're speaking for the group of people that you service. You're speaking for the employees of an organization. You're speaking for the lady who answers the phone. You're speaking for her family. You're speaking for the leadership of an organization. Those are the faces that we represent, which is why I take my job so seriously. This is not about me. I get to have fun, but really we have to keep a bigger picture in mind. This being true to your voice applies both to you as individuals and to a company. You know, nowadays with social media, everybody wants to be part of the like latest trending hashtag or whatever the latest craze is. But just like a person, brands have character and personalities, and you can tell when they're not being true, right? And so think about it. What's your name?
Jody.
Jody. All right, so let's say I know Jody, and somebody comes and tells me, you know, you won't believe what Jody did this weekend, and they tell me, if I know Jody, what I hear will be like, oh, that totally sounds like Jody. I'll be like, that doesn't sound like Jody at all, right? People know your brand. When they hear or see something about your brand, it shouldn't be like, that doesn't sound like the company at all. And we see companies do this all the time because they're trying to get on the train of whatever the latest trend is. But people can tell when you're being phony. Like, people can tell when you're trying to be socially responsible, but you've never been. So I think it was Burberry or whatever, they sell like super expensive scarves. And about a week or two ago, there was a big scandal because somebody exposed the fact that they burned the inventory that they don't sell, right? And they do that for a reason. I mean, I understand the business reason of it, but then they came up with like this socially responsible response to the crisis, and they were like, well, we're gonna limit the production, and we're gonna do this and that, and people can see through that. Like, if you were really socially responsible from the beginning, you would have implemented this solution from the beginning, right? But they just have to respond, and they have to sound like they care. So we, you know, in our industry, there are things that competitors do that are just different from what we are. And, you know, we just kind of have to stay focused and resist the temptation of doing what other people are doing. This is where, when you stay true to your voice, you can get to, right? So we're a very culturally driven company. We're very involved in our community. We are very focused on creating a place where our employees and our communities can thrive. Are any of you familiar with Second Harvest Food Bank? Awesome. So we've been partners of theirs for years. And we have our technicians a specific time of year collecting food when they're servicing customers in their homes. Then we put that food together. Our employees compete against each other in fundraising, and at the end, we make a big donation to the food bank. You know, we are very unique in the sense that we get to service people in their homes, right? Not many. I mean, you're gonna buy a phone, you go to a store. You're gonna go grocery shopping, clothes shopping, you go to the store. We get to go to people's homes. They trust us so much that they open their pantry and they give us the content of their pantry because they know that that food is gonna get where we said it was gonna get to. That is trust. When you stay true to your voice, when you know who you are as a brand, then people get behind your cause because they believe you. We are, like, behind the Titans. We're the second largest donor during these food drives for Second Harvest Food Bank. Let that sink in for a moment. The Titans, right? And people trust us enough to help us meet those goals and feed people who are food insecure in our community. Which, by the way, I invite you to look at statistics. It's crazy. And when people think of hunger, you know, you think of homelessness or people that don't have jobs. It's not that way. Your neighbor might be hungry because people have to choose between paying their mortgage or eating, right? Or they have to pick between medicine and eating. So I'm very proud of working for a place that gives us the ability to do this. Marketing drives this, and it's super awesome. So we can recap what we just talked about, because we're about to shift and you're going to talk to me. I would say, and I shared this with my marketing peers, I asked them, are you being a good student of your brand? You know, sometimes in marketing, we're so focused on producing ideas and getting things out there that we fail to listen and we fail to study. Are you walking around? If you're not, start today. And while this, how many of you are actively working right now? Whoa, wow, awesome. What do you guys work at?
I know. I thought we'd get a laugh.
Where do you guys work at?
Right now, I'm not supposed to
Anybody can tell me where you guys work at?
I work on campus, I do security.
Nice,
Cool.
awesome,
Liberty Mutual Insurance.
nice. Anybody else? Yes,
I work at UPS.
cool,
I'm a leasing agent for Lincoln Property Company.
nice,
I'm interning at United Way.
nice, awesome. Anybody else? Yeah,
I'm sales over at Northern Tool and Equipment Hub.
awesome. Come on, somebody else, cause like all of you raised your hands.
I intern with our athletic department, working with marketing and promotions, and then I work at the textbook store across from campus.
You guys are busy people, I love it.
I work at Sedona Tap House in Germantown, and I interned for D615.
Nice. Somebody else? Who else?
Guy on the front has his hand.
Intern at Northwestern Mutual.
Nice, awesome. I know you guys work at E-Company. Who else?
Monday through Friday.
Awesome. Well, so you can put this into practice, right? Because doesn't matter your position, sales, leasing, whatever you're doing, this applies. You guys will add so much value to your organization the more you understand it, right? Because you're expanding your scope. You're going beyond like I'm just a sales guy to like I'm a company guy, right? Because you're constantly learning. That opens up opportunities for you. And then on a personal level, walk around because you never know who you're gonna meet. You never know who's gonna hear your story. Listen, and I would say this for you guys that are working, you're interfacing with customers, listen to their stories because you're gonna delight a customer, you're gonna do something awesome for someone, and you gotta let someone in your organization know, like, hey, you know what? Our customer said this or that. I promise you your marketing team will love you for it, and they'll notice you because they will notice you have the right type of ears, right? So always be listening, be seen in unexpected places, and you can apply it in your jobs today. Again, you know, it's about expanding your scope. It's about expanding your vision and letting other people see you in a different light, and be an agent of change, of positive change. You guys have any thoughts or questions at this point? Okay, that's all right. If you don't mind, I can share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way. Maybe we could talk about those. As I started saying, I've learned to be open-minded. When I graduated college, I spent 6 months working on my own. I'm a very creative person, so I quickly formed a business. It was called PK Advertising, to the point was my tagline. And I did a bunch of things, mostly graphic design stuff. I acquired customers, like I had a hotel as my customer. It was going great, except I suck at charging people after the fact. So like 6 months into it, I had lost a lot of money because I had a bunch of happy customers that never paid for my work. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna put that one in the back burner for now. And I went to find a job, and Coca-Cola wasn't hiring me. I couldn't understand why. I just couldn't get a job with one of the big companies that I thought is where I needed to have my career at. So and I went to work for a nonprofit as a receptionist. It was like not what I had dreamt of. I had a bachelor's degree and I thought that made me so special, except there were like 1,000 people who graduated the same day with the same degree, right? And some of them had taken the time to do internships and work. I did work while I was in school, but I just kind of did random jobs. So anyway, I took this job, killed it as a receptionist for like 3 months. I started to get bored. There was an opportunity. The assistant to the CEO was quitting. She couldn't work with him. He was a very hard person to work for. And so she said, I think you can do that job. And I was like, no, it requires like 10 years of experience. I've been here 3 months. She's like, what do you have to lose? I was like, you're right, I was gonna quit anyway, because I was bored. So I took the job. Guys, I cried every night for a year. He was so mean, like mean. But there's something about me, I'm so stubborn. So I was determined that I was gonna conquer that. When I say beast, I'm talking about the job, not the guy. Though it was. So anyway, I got to travel, I don't know, maybe like 10 states with that company. Whenever there was an opportunity, I'd say, I'll do it. I'll do it. The way I got the job was that I came with my portfolio of stuff that I had designed myself. I promised my team I'm gonna show them portfolio. It's really funny now. But back then, I was like so proud of my work. I worked with them for 3 years. At the 3rd year mark, it wasn't challenging anymore. I had figured out the job and the guy. And I really wanted to be in a marketing organization. So through a recruiter, I went to work for a writer. I started working for the VP of marketing as her executive assistant. I remember in the interview, she asked me, well, what makes you special? And I told her, you know, I can turn feedback into results about 98% of the time. So she's like, what happens to the other 2%? I said, well, I'm only human, you know, and so I think she liked that answer. She asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I don't want to be your assistant. To me, this is just a way in, but I want to be in marketing. She asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I don't know. I need a few months with your team, and then I can tell you. So 3 months later, we had our follow-up conversation. And I told her I liked marketing communications, and she opened up an opportunity for me there. I was with that team for about 3 years. I was one of 35 marketers, which was really fun because I got to learn from a lot of cool people. But when you're one of 35, it's kind of hard to shine, and it's kind of hard to do things your way because, you know, you're one of 35. That's when the lead company opportunity came about, and I went from being one of 35 being my own man, my own woman. And it has been, I think for me, it has been my sweet spot because I get to see the results of my work, but I have budget, right? Like if I'm working in a tiny, tiny company, you have to be extremely creative because you have to implement good ideas without money, and that's hard. So all that to say that I have been firm on my dream of being a marketer, but I've been flexible on the approach. I think that's something that makes me good at my job is that I'm curious, and I'm creative, and I'm resourceful. So what do you guys think will make you, are all of you, how many of you here are marketing majors? Like that's what you want to do? Everybody.
Yeah, but that's a big bucket. Is it marketing sales? Is it you know?
There's, yeah, I think
Am
that
I
there's.
right? Yeah, but I'm saying like, I have a marketing degree, but I do nothing in marketing.
I think that's what I love about marketing, and is that it's
I do
so broad, right? 'Cause when you guys think of, like, what areas of marketing are you guys interested in? When you think about your dream job, what are you doing? Yeah.
We're doing promotions for the sports team.
Nice.
I recently kind of found like more in like business development and like coming up with like strategy and bringing more revenue.
So that's his world.
Yeah.
Connect
What
with
else?
it.
Marketing strategy and marketing research.
He's a
It's
genius.
interesting to find new ways to be able to come up with a marketing strategy or to implement a marketing strategy. Actually try to work with the operations to make sure that happens.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like I get paid to play, right? Because I love what I do, and it's like a game of chess, right? So you know that you're playing against somebody. You just don't get. It's like, what's that game, Battleship? Where like you're moving stuff, you don't see what they're doing, but something's happening. That's how I think of marketing. I think of marketing in many ways. That's one of them. What else? What other areas of marketing are you guys interested in?
I want to do like digital marketing and social media.
Awesome. One of my faves. Yes.
My favorite part is after you actually come up with a marketing strategy and implement it, tracking it, and then seeing the results. And when you actually get those results that you were hoping for, or even better, it's a pretty good feeling to me.
Yeah. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. That doesn't always happen.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I can tell you about a $40,000 mistake that I made. I mean, I said I made. It took a team, but I made it. Anybody else? What else do you guys think of when you think of your marketing careers? So it's really broad, right? I mean, you could be designing ads, you could be producing videos, you could be producing events, you could be handling promotions, you could be writing content, you can be developing websites, doing social media, doing communications, crafting strategy. I'm just thinking to the people that I get to work with every day, right? We have digital strategists, we have analytics people, you go all the way to the other end of like sales, right? It's so broad. I love marketing for that reason. But in order for you to like get to your niche, you have to be willing to ask questions. And you have to know what your vision is, right? Because it's so broad, you can get lost being a jack of all trades, which is fine. But if you have a very specific dream, you kind of have to craft a plan to accomplish that. I can tell you guys, that would be a whole hour, me telling you the mistakes I've made. Like I've sent emails with the Greek text on the template, because I did it for my car in an emergency. Lesson learned. A customer also replied to that one. I've sent the $40,000 mistake. So when I started working for a lead company, we were opening operations for home services in North Alabama. I knew nothing about the South, guys. Like, nothing. I didn't know it could get that cold here, much less Alabama. Like, I had seen Sweet Home Alabama. That was my qualification to do the job. And so, I did this. I loved, because I could have delegated or asked an agency to do a market study for me, but I did it by hand. I spent about a week combing through census information, through like real estate information, and put together this really cool spreadsheet, because I love spreadsheets, and came up with like, you know, in a 10-mile radius from the office, this is the opportunity that fits our demographic, you know, 20-mile, a 30-mile. It was a really cool exercise. And then hired an agency and made the mistake of not vetting this agency very well. They came up with a genius plan. It was a $40,000 plan. It was display advertisement, and it was gonna get us all these clicks, which were gonna get all these conversions. And I started asking for reporting, and they kept giving me the runaround. By the time we got to seeing reports, we had already spent $35,000. The campaign had netted 2 clicks, 2 calls. One came from Georgia, and the other one came from Birmingham. So I had to walk into my boss's office, and it's like, all is good. I hope we can afford to lose $40,000, because we just did. And I'm so sorry. I had to own up to it. We had other things going on, so it's not like the whole business was depending on this campaign. That was a mistake. And unfortunately, because I wasn't tracking early on, by the time I really held their feet to the fire and got the report, we had burned the budget for digital. And so I've made typos on emails. I'm a stickler for details, but it happens to the best of us. Typos on social, not so often, but it's happened. But anyway, have you guys made mistakes in your marketing career so far? Anybody care to share one? Made me feel better about myself? You're laughing. Has anybody? Like, am I the only one who's not perfect?
Actually, I've made a decent amount of either mistakes or just lessons learned in terms of what works and what doesn't. Some of them weren't as costly, but one of them is actually a similar issue. I'm the only person for marketing that we have, and there's no job like description. It's just find a way to get more customers.
Right.
And so I did everything from email marketing to using AdWords, social media, placing ads like in Craigslist, going door to door, handing flyers, And one of the things I learned, I took an internship to build websites, and then I started getting into SEO just to learn more so we can actually have more of an online presence. Later on, as I got in school and I had gotten really busy, I decided to hire a company to help with our SEO more, just get more customers. And what I didn't realize, I didn't learn enough SEO to realize the lead site that they built for us, I guess like a second site to bring customers in, was hurting our SEO. And then just in general, I didn't vet the company as much as I should have to see how well they really produce results, and it wasn't what we expected. We paid more than what we should have for results that they didn't really give very well, and they promised otherwise.
It becomes harder the bigger the company that you work for, because I mean, we see this all the time in our industry. You know, I would say, I don't know, maybe 80–90% of the industry is made up of small mom and pop shops. There are few companies that are our size, and so the solutions and the strategies that are built for small companies. So when they come and pitch them to us, we need to have the wisdom to understand we're not a two-truck company, right? We're a big brand with 3 distinct businesses, which is why we can't be goofy in our advertisement. I would love to be funny and, you know, satirical and all this stuff, but, you know, my job's not only to get the phone to ring for home services, we have a facilities and construction business to protect. So having the understanding that what works for the masses might not work for our brand is important. I've learned to elevate my thinking, you know, as I said, going from being a glorified admin to being a strategic partner for our businesses. I can also tell you a lot of stories of success. So I showed you the ad that I told you we run on the during the Super Bowl. I also told you that I'm stubborn. So the first time that I heard no, that ad's not going on the Super Bowl, I was like, okay. And then I pitched it again, and it was again a no. But I was so convinced that this needed to be in the Super Bowl. So I had the opportunity to present it to our CEO. Showed it to him, he was like, wow, and I was like, don't you think this belongs in the Super Bowl? And he just kind of looked at me, he's like, yeah. And he approved the budget, except at this point we had 3 weeks. What I showed him was what I showed you, the 90 seconds, right? So we had 3 weeks to turn that into a 30-second ad. When you're working with video, trimming is harder than adding. So we needed to trim the ad down to 30 seconds. We had to build a whole digital strategy around this. We had to build a landing page, ads, the budget, the timeline, parameters, how we were going to track success. Anyway, I've watched the Super Bowl since before I spoke English because I love ads, right? People who are friends with me on social media know that I make comments about every ad I see. I used to do it by hand. Now I just do it on my laptop. So it was a huge dream to see an ad in the Super Bowl. I thought I was going to have a big party. It ended up being my husband, my 2 kids, 2 dogs, and me watching the ad. My phone started buzzing right when it ran. It's the first time that I cried when I see an ad, not because it was, you know, tear-jerking, it's because it was our ad. And then our digital guys like, go on the web, well, go on Google Analytics. We normally have like 4 or 5 people live on our website, right? Because people go to request service and then they leave. As soon as the ad run, we had close to 300 people live on the website, like at that moment. And the number of applications that we received over the next few weeks while the campaign run tripled. And so in an industry where labor is a challenge because there aren't enough people to work on the construction boom we have, being able to triple the amount of people knocking on your door is a success. Last year we ran a campaign, I'm very proud to say, this is the 2nd award we win at a national level. We called it the Energy Vampires. And it was about, you know, energy sucks in your home and how you could be saving money. It was really fun. It's the first time that we were able to attribute revenue directly to email because our systems are very old and clunky. And we were able to show like $30,000 in revenue directly from the email campaign right when it launched. It was our first automated campaign. It was really fun. That Alabama business that I told you guys about has been thriving. It's grown. We are expanding into other areas: Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, Gallatin, Clarksville, Cookeville. So, you know, I mean, we've had failures, but we've had way more victories than failures. The fact that internal communications is in marketing and not in HR, it's a pretty big deal. It means that they trust us to execute with excellence. So surround yourself with smart people that you can ask dumb questions to. I ask dumb questions. Like, I can see it in the face of the person who's hearing my question, like, that was a dumb question. But I learn a lot because they're smart and they're willing to teach. The same way you guys have to be part of someone's circle you can answer dumb questions to, right? A friend of mine says you always need to be poured onto and be pouring onto somebody else. So know when to lead and when to follow. I'm gonna let you borrow that piece of my personal brand. Be smart enough to know that you don't know enough, because you know, I know that there are people in small businesses that look at our company and they're like, wow, big company, they really have it all figured out. We sit in meetings and we're totally freaking out because there's a lot that we don't know. I've been to conferences when you hear the CMO of Adobe stand there and say, we haven't figured it out. You know, this is such a moving target. No one's really figured it out. And we need to be humble enough that we don't know it all. Learn from your mistakes. Do excellent work. We don't do everything. We have competitors that literally do everything, marketing-wise. We don't. We're not on every magazine. We don't mail with every possible direct mail channel. We're not on every radio station. We're not on every TV station. We're very selective because marketing dollars are finite, right? Well, whatever we do with excellence. And I think that's what makes us a really good marketing team, is the fact that we're excellence driven. The devil's in the details. I tell the team, one day when we're not in each other's lives, you'll remember me as that lady that was a stickler for details. Because that's the difference between good and excellent, is in the details, right? The other day we had a meeting and I was telling them, that's why you pay $30 for a knockoff purse and you pay $6,000 for a Chanel, because of the details, right? So be the Chanel of your company, and let your passion for marketing be contagious. You know, I told you I think of marketing as many things. We're storytellers. That's cliche, but it's true. I feel like we bridge the gap between a company and its consumers. Think about it. Marketing lets people know they have needs they didn't know they have. That's why we have smartphones today. We didn't know we needed them, right? We really are at a place, you guys are graduating at a time where you're entering into a workplace where marketing has a voice, right? You think about people who graduated 20 years ago, they just have to slap the logo on something and go to a trade show. This is an exciting time for all of us marketers. I'm excited to see where your generation, I'm not that much older than you, but your generation will lead our trade too. You guys have thoughts, questions, anything? Is this helpful? Yes, sir.
Most here are, like I said, they're about to graduate, and getting that first job, or what to do to prepare yourself for that, or how to go about doing that process, what advice would you give them?
If you have a portfolio, I mean, it certainly worked for me. Be proud of the work you've done. Because, I mean, you are competing. This is a very competitive market right now. You are competing against professionals. So I would say any work that you can show you've done, bring it to the table. Because even if that work doesn't speak specifically to what they're looking for, it'll speak to your capabilities, your creativity, your ethic, your willingness to learn. So I would say, highly recommend that. Work with recruiters. You know, recruiters get paid to place you somewhere. So you're not working alone in the marketplace. You have people that are trying to find you a place because they will benefit you. They'll benefit from finding you a home. Just make sure it's the right home. I've learned that culture really, really matters. I'd say don't be fixated on a title. Be fixated on finding the right opportunity. Like I said, I started as a receptionist in a company and was able to morph that into the opportunity that I wanted at the time. Be seen. There are marketing associations and trade associations that you need to be part of so that you're networking with the right people. Have your story, your personal brand story ready. People call it your elevator pitch or whatever. Again, have it ready because you don't know who's listening to you. Have your digital presence sharpened, clean. So your LinkedIn, you know that employers are looking at your social media channels. So use your privacy rights, settings correctly. Because sadly, people make judgments based on what they see without knowing you yet. So make sure that your digital presence speaks to that brand that you're presenting to people. Reach out to professionals. I can't tell you like how many people I've met that are like, hey, could I pick your brain, blah, blah, and I'm like, sure, give them my contact info, crickets. Well, missed opportunity, right? So make sure that you're reaching out and using the connections that you have. Have your resume ready and updated at all times. I judge people on their resume, like you see typos, spacing mistakes, inconsistencies. I've talked about detail. When you have like bullet points and some of them have periods at the end and some of them don't, to me that shows that you're sloppy. So why would I trust you with my social media channels when you can't even write your resume right? And so, sadly, I have to say we had a member of our team, this was a couple years ago, that only lasted 6 weeks. She was a college graduate. I think she had a lot of potential, but she could not spell for the life of her. And so I told her, look, I'm willing to teach you many things, but you're a college graduate. There are some foundational things that I'm not willing and I shouldn't have to teach you, like use spell check, and Google will tell you the meaning of any word you want to know. So the fact that I'm consistently seeing these grammatical and spelling mistakes tell me you're not ready for the job I have for you. Wished her well, and sadly that was the end of the opportunity for her. So guys, be sharp. The work that you're looking to do is work that's very public, and it represents an army of people in a brand, so it has to be clean. I think we talked about LinkedIn. One of you guys have?
I hire a lot of people. I've probably hired close to 1,000 people in my career.